Good morning, everybody. A lovely Bitcoin CME Gap Monday. The big question is that I have on my mind is this just another 30% Bitcoin correction? Because we've now seemed to establish a little bit of a bottom. So what you see typically on the Bitcoin chart is you get these 30% corrections, 30%, and this is a really strong narrative out there right now. 30% Bitcoin correction. What is this? So we need to look at that, because remember, I'm not concerned about being right. I want to make money. That's all we want to do here. So if it means that this is just a correction and we're going to go to 150, I want to be in on that move. I want to make sure that we get that. Okay. Now, in today's stream, we're going to be looking at this, and in order to identify whether this is just a normal correction, I'm going to be doing a momentum analysis with you guys. So we're going to be looking at Bitcoin weekly, and we're going to move this back down to the daily, the 4-hour, and look at that momentum. And in addition to this, we also will be looking at today's Bitcoin CME gap. Now, the CME gap is currently sitting at 86 all the way down to 85 thereabouts. So are we going to test this area and hold strong? Now, I don't know. I can't tell you whether that's going to be the case, but I know that statistically, 90% of the time, if we follow the gap, we're probably going to continue onwards with the trend, and that most of these gaps do fall on a Monday. So we're going to be looking at that today, and if not, within the first week. So that's an interesting one for us today. Now, then we need to also have a look at our larger time frame bearish outlook, because as you guys know, we've been looking at being a bear now since 125, where I sold all my BTCs, and we went short on hidden bearish divergence at around 115. So this short that we've been nursing, this wave 2 all the way to wave 3 that I'm thinking we have now completed, means that the relief rally is about to start. And the reason I am bullish is because I want to try and see if we can, where we need to drive back up in order to resume more shorts for the larger time frame play. Why do I still believe the larger time frame play is in? Because the 4-year cycle, although things have changed for Bitcoin and this time it's different, we've seen that it's played out to the T, exactly what we wanted to see. Highs at around the 38 time zone. So the expectation is that the bear bottom will probably only be at around August 2026. So there's a larger time frame cycle that we need to keep in mind. So this and a lot more in today's stream. So if you're new to the channel, say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you're an OG like Liesel, like Renee, and a few others, say hi in any case, because it sucks to do this alone. I want to have a little bit of back and forth with you guys. And if you're tuning in from Twitter or any of the other places where I'm streaming in from, drop a comment, ask a question. If there's anything, we can have a look at this. And then later on, we're also going to be looking at the next coin, altcoin, I'm thinking is going to give us Zcash-like gains. So let's get into this, guys. Okay. Before we start, quick reminder, today's stream is brought to you by ByBit. So if you want to support the content, all you need to do, open your ByBit account. And in addition to that, go to the Discord and go and claim your ByBit access to the Discord services. So you get Discord roles and you claim your ByBit access at the Discord role. What this does for a short period of time still, this is going to change, will give you access to the buddy indicator. This is a invite only. You cannot see or Google or find the script anywhere other than this. And the buddy indicator does give you these setups, helps you get into the moves, analyzes the charts, gives you the momentum plays, whether we're bullish or bearish. So it takes away a lot of the guessing work. So think of it as your trade buddy, somebody that's always there telling you what you should be looking at and what you should be looking for. Okay, so that and obviously you get to trade live with me in the Discord as well. So all that and more in the Discord, which means your Discord, if you do this, will look something like this. ByBit trade partner, oops, and then it unlocks a hell of a lot more. The trader guide, as well as the spot trade group, as well as a few other things. So yeah, there you have it. Now let's get into our charts. Bitcoin being the first important thing. Let's quickly see. Katrin, hello. Nice to have you on the stream. Okay, let's quickly do. So the weekly time frame has got a significance to it that I want to share with you guys. Now, for those that's been following along, what I've always been saying is when you have liquidation events. Now, liquidation event could be just the market turning on one side, being in this instance, everybody was bullish and then the market took everybody out of the market quite aggressively. The liquidation events, like we had there, has significance, and the significance lies in the next week's price action. So we've now had a massive liquidation event to 28 billion lost in gains or in markets. Let's quickly go and have a look at this morning's market tactics. I want to make sure I give you guys the correct numbers. No, that's the HODL report. There we go. So we've seen a hell of a lot of liquidations, 3.5 billion in ETF outflows, a lot of things. Positives, 95% of Bitcoin supply has been mined, so that makes it interesting. And MicroStrategy made its biggest purchase. So there's a lot of things to say that it might move into the other side of the market. Okay, so back to the chart then. That says that if we look at this and the amount of liquidations and the punishment and everything that happened and the good news that happens, when can we say that this is just a shakeout, another 30% retrace? The easiest way to do this is to have a look at the market from a very clean perspective. So I'm just going to bring out the trend, and I'm going to use the Trendscope indicator for you guys. Now, this is a completely free indicator that I created. You literally go to your indicators menu. It's that little button there. And you type in Trendscope. There it is. Okay, that's it. And then when you load it, you want to load it on the short-term outlook first. So the Trendscope indicator, you can click on it. It has different outputs, short-term analysis, long-term, and so forth. So we're going to look at this from a short-term. So from a short-term point of view, the weekly time frame, although we have fallen below moving averages and so forth, the reality is that the trend is still bullish until we break and the momentum shifts from a short-term point of view. So we could be there, we could be at any of these retraces. As long as white or cream is above green, is above red, you're bullish. So the reality is that moving averages, although it very slow to react to a move, it's a good momentum indicator to say to you, okay, whether you still can hope for more, be hopeful, or whether you need to consider changing your narrative. Now, the same then happens when we look at this from a bearish point of view. As long as we have red above green above cream, then you can argue that the momentum is still, from a bearish point of view, still intact. Okay, that's all. I'm not using this as support and resistance levels, Anna. I'm merely just looking mathematically at price at different time zones or different time stamps, because your 15 moving average or 200, those kind of things. Okay, and if you want to know how this works, I've got a complete guide in the Discord. So you go to education, how to use tools, click on it right there, and then there would be the Trendscope indicator for you guys. So it teaches you everything about the indicator, how to set it up and so forth, video and notes, so that you can run through the whole thing and understand exactly why it works the way it does. Okay. Now, so from a short-term point of view, although we are doing flash crashes, we are not at any stage realistically full bear market just yet. And for me, the important thing that I want to point out to you is that around these lows and these lows, we still have hidden bullish divergence. So it means a lot of people would now accept bearish as a narrative, saying, well, okay, well, we had a massive move and okay, maybe we bear. But until we delete the hidden bullish divergence that we currently have, we cannot realistically say that it's full bear just yet, which means if I bring us back to this macro time analysis that we've got, I'm just going to take it to the monthly time frame just to, squish the data a little bit closer so you can see the bigger picture. So from this point of view, although we've nailed the highs, the lows, correct, we could potentially still double top and then come and correct later down. There is upside potential in the market being where it is right now. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get to. So the weekly time frame with this basically points to that. And now I was talking about the liquidation candles a little bit earlier, so I want to bring that back into the play. So when we look at the liquidation candles, this one here, this one there, and this entire structure is a liquidation candle. Once the liquidation is over, everybody is shaken out. The market has now tested your resolve. Diamond hands have been called bullshit and those kind of stuff. Fear and greed index is like extremely oversold, which we are right now. The next week's trading is going to be the clue to tell us what's the market going to do, statistically speaking. Okay, have a look at this. Massive liquidation. The week thereafter, we traded and stayed above the closing. Okay, nearest makes no difference there. We created a doji, stayed at the closing. We were fighting, and then from that point onward, the week where the momentum was there, above the closing, strength. Those then typically become the areas where you buy 50% of the wick. So you're buying a demand. So statistically, that's the area where the overlap occurs. Okay, that's it. That's option one. Option two for us from a price action point of view, we don't have to look that far. Yet again, mass liquidation event, market got bought back up. So you had that relief rally. But then the week thereafter, we traded within that wick, within that liquidation event. Statistically, those events then tell us that the market's going to want to continue down lower still. It needs to find more discount in order to lock in a bottom. Now, when we were here, when we created all-time highs and we had our first liquidation, we were on the stream and I said, look at what happens the week after the craze. We traded within that candle wick. So at that stage, I used that. We had multiple times to exit, and I used that for my swing short for Bitcoin because the statistics pointed to the fact that because we were in this and we had weakness, we will fill this wick and some, which we now did. So where we're at right now, to call a bottom, to say Bitcoin bottom right now, and to look at what is potentially the predictions from what other and analysts are saying. I'm just going to bring that up, 95, 130 to 140, 200,000, long term. These are all targets. So if you look at the short term, at the end of this year, we're looking at 95, 112, 116, 100,000, Somebody said 86,000. So if you look at this, Tom Lee is obviously crazy. He's looking at crazy targets. But you look at those predictions, this week's price action is going to give us a clue to which one of those we want to align ourselves, be it the 130,000 crowd, be it the 98,000 crowd, And what needs to now happen is this week's trading should not close within this wick. That's it. So we're looking for a strong week trading-wise, and we're looking for, if it wants to dip, we can still see an 83 tested again and so forth, but you don't want to see price now go and move that. So the nice thing of where we are price action wise right now is we can draw a hard line in the sand and say more downside is just going to give more downside. So this is not then any price below this. It's not a dip you should be interested in. It's just a continuation of the existing dip. Now, the upside targets then, meaning from a macro point of view, says that if we look at Bitcoin on the CME gap side, where we're at right now, we're going to try and fill that gap. So all the way down to say 84, 85, that could be a nice area for a bounce. But then from that point, statistically, we want to see the market move up. Now, there's some imbalances sitting around 90. 90 was where the initial psychological support for Bitcoin should have held. And once that lost, we went to 80. So you can see how auction theory and the psychological support levels for Bitcoin is significant. 120 when we lost 120, I'm going to bring up this chart real quick on the weekly time frame. Come on, load. There we go. And I'm just going to switch off the Trendscope Indicator. So when we lost 120, what happened? We wanted to see if 100 is going to hold. The level I shared was 105 because of the pivot, but that's the argument. 100 needed to hold. 100 failed, then we went to 90. 90 failed, then we went to 80. So those levels do play a significant role for us. So to conclude this now, let's just, before I go too far off topic, looking at where we are right now, I want to see Bitcoin hold 85 and go to 90 and see if we can make a higher high. Because if we can delete hidden bearish divergence, it spells the strength, and we could see a test 110, 120 even. But if we hover around this price action for the week and we close within these levels, below these critical levels, and I'll give you that level now on the weekly time frame, we're just going to dump further. Okay, so this week, where we're at right now, 86. So this week's significant. It's the same job that we need to do, that we had to do there. We need to see what this week does, and then from that point on, plan for the next move. Okay, that's it. Right, let's quickly see where we're at with Bitcoin regarding the Trendscope and then the buddy indicator, just to finalize on the smaller time frame. So I'm going to open the 4-hour time frame for you guys. And what I'll do is I'll take away all the brush strokes and squibbles. Let me quickly do that. Come on, load. And if there's any questions regarding this, drop them in. Now's the time to drop them in the comment section. So the 4-hour time frame for us. Trendscope Indicator, then on the short time frame, so I'm just going to load it, short-term time frame on the 4-hour, is still bearish as hell. You can see that you've got red, green, green. So this is not turned at any stage. So from a 4-hour point of view, your swing analysis says use the highs to short the shit out of this thing. Okay, that's what you need to do. But if you start diving into the 1-hour time frame, you can now see what is shifting is that slowly but surely we are building a base. And that's why I'm considering at around 85, 83, there around, to try and see if I can buy the bottom. For me, I don't want to buy there because that looks amazing and feels amazing, but that is gambling in a way. I want to buy the bottom after it's locked in, because that is profit for me. Just like we shorted. I sold at 125 my BTCs, but I didn't short the market at that stage because I was still unsure. Establish a trend, get in on the trend, trade the momentum. So where we're at right now, momentum is resetting. So our Bitcoin momentum needs to now reset, and you're going to start looking for this to happen on the hourly time frame. So price creeps down, tests around, it gives this momentum time to just reset. Then, and once that is there, we can drive to higher targets. Point and figure points to potential 90K. There's a massive gap sitting in right there. We have created what is a bullish trend, but we've now broken it. So we're probably going to correct a little bit, chopped around. And so you're going to find price action like this, where it's going to be up and down, up and down, up and down, until it creates that shakeout for the correction. Because everybody now is going to probably want to feel comfortable shorting the market. So I want to see this kind of build a base, hold this 84, breakthrough, and then I'm going to want to try and trade this thing long. First target 90, probably then we're going to push on a little bit higher. We've got 98, and we still have 106. And then best case scenario, there's even still a 120 in there. So there's still a lot of upside for Bitcoin considering. So just remember how the weekly closes, because that's going to be significant for us. Okay. Now, let's quickly see where we're at regarding coins like Zcash. So I'm going to load the Zcash chart for you guys. I'm going to switch to the weekly time frame because Zcash has been performing really strong. Oh yeah, but before I do that, sorry guys, I'm jumping around. I shouldn't do that. Sorry. Let me finish up with the indicator so you can see the momentum on that. So the 4-hour then, or the 1 hour now is showing signs, and the buddy indicator as well is turning blue. And when it starts turning blue, what you can do is you can use the buddy indicator and then use the smaller time frame, the 10-minute. Wait for the bullish trade setups to appear, meaning you wait for what? Strat 4 signals, hidden bullish divergence, the continuation. So when everything started turning blue around these levels here, you can see on the higher time frame. Once it started turning blue and we started moving to the upside, you can see the cursor works on both screens. Buddy then started picking up on hidden bullish divergence around these levels, saying that's the area for the entry. Now, if you look at this, this is when it picked it up, but that's when it plotted the buy zone. And in that area, you had time to enter. So at this candle, just so you guys know how this works, at this candle right here, the end of this candle, so Bitcoin was sitting at 87. It gave you this area as the buy zone. And then it ranged around, went to the buy zone, and continued onward. At this candle, when Bitcoin closed at 87 again, it gave you this buy zone because of the hidden bullish divergence. And sadly, the market just didn't get to that position. It happens. So where we're at right now, and you only enter while you're in that zone. So you don't keep the limit order all the way indefinitely. So while we're at this now, you can see on the smaller time frame, the market is confused. We're chopping around. We have orange and blue overlapping each other. We're not ready for the market just yet. And the 1 hour has now turned blue, but we need to go and test these areas over here. And that means you just need to be a little bit patient. You will have great long entries soon. And I won't necessarily chase the short right now because of this, because we are starting to build a base here. Okay. So that's the time the analysis regarding the two. Now the Trendscope on the larger time frame, you can take the long-term outlook as well. So now we're looking for that swing entry. So if you're looking at this from a long-term point of view, we are also resetting similar to the short-term point of view. So we're not quite there yet. And from the 4 hour on the larger time frames, all is still good. This is a bearish trend. So your swings, your 115K swing positions, this upside should not be seen as a danger to those trades. Stay in them, hold them, be patient, because the market will probably go and test whichever level we have. I've given you guys a couple before we continue on lower, unless this changes. Okay, guys, it's as simple as that. Right, now let's load Zcash. I'm going to quickly go and load Zcash. So I'm going to go to the weekly time frame for Zcash. And the important thing here, before I share the alt that I think is really important for us, the important thing here is long accumulation, effort versus result. I'm of the opinion that if there's upside, it's going to be short-lived upside. Don't fall victim to the 10K Zcash claims and stuff like that. It's going to hurt you, just like, you know, holding on to the 150 Bitcoin K narrative, how hurted us, or hurt you, hurted my tenses, hurt you at 125K. You know, it's almost there. It looks there. Tops will always look bullish. Bottoms will always look bearish. You cannot wait for those to form and think you'll have the right narrative. You have to act from a point of strength. Okay. So where we're at right now, this is a straight line due to a long accumulation. So it's like a supply shock in the market. So the weekly time frame, the one important thing that I would want to say for you guys for the weekly time frame is this. Forget about when to buy it again. Use the momentum on the price action and say, okay, this is bullish until what? Until the 23.6 is lost. So just like Bitcoin has a crazy week ahead of us, we want to see that it stays above the liquidation levels. Coins like Zcash has got the same job now. If we close below $588 for Zcash, it starts looking more like this is going to happen as opposed to more of that. And that's something you guys just need to keep in the back of your mind. Okay, that's the larger time frame, the weekly time frame. I'm going to skip the daily. I'm just going to go to the 4 hour for Zcash. And what I'll do is I'll switch off the buddy and the Trendscope so we can just have an unfiltered view of this. So if we look at this from an unfiltered view, the market is trying to find a floor here to give us this good week that we want to see. So the way that it is presenting itself is by the fact that these bottoms on Zcash, they're not making lower lows. So you have a correction, A, B, C correction, and an A, B, C, meaning there should probably be a truncated fifth there. Correction patterns, that does play out. Okay, that's fine. But you have no lower lows yet, just like Bitcoin in a way. And you have the RSI resetting, giving you hidden bullish divergence. So Zcash is in a really tough spot. From an investment point of view, I won't necessarily grab it because we are nearing the end of a parabolic move. But from a trader point of view, there's still potentially room for one more higher high that could really trap a lot of people in on Zcash before it sells off. And the hard part for you, the viewer, to try and define what it is you want to do. Remember, I cannot give you financial advice. I know nothing about you. I don't know where you bought. I don't know what you're holding. I know nothing. All I can share with you guys is what the TA gives us regarding risk management and the best plausible direction because of that. And it's up to you to make an informed decision. Educate yourself so you can think for yourself, you know. So all that I can say at this stage is the hard bottom for Zcash is 425. So if you have entries down here at 199, $50, whatever the case might be, you have time. You can afford to see whether we're going to stay in this area. But if you have entries, say it's 600, you need to make a clear decision, because once we go below that level, you don't have the ability to wait any longer, because the risk for downside becomes increasingly more for you. So you have a weaker negotiation point than the guys that bought here. So anybody above this level, you need to worry. Anybody below this level, you can wait and see. It's simple. Okay. How do you worry? Well, simple. If this thing makes a lower low, it establishes this correction as just bigger trend, and you need to understand that it's going to keep on doing that indefinitely almost. That's the crazy worry that you need to sit with. Okay, so two levels. Guys above this, guys below this. You need to make two different choices. Okay. Now, let's bring in the buddy. Let's say, well, let's have an impartial look to this, because I might be, biased. What the buddy is doing is it's switching now to orange again, but we're range bound. So when we're range bound in this area, you cannot use this as a signal. You have to look at this from a bullish point of view. Okay. When did it start overriding the candles? Okay, so there you were. Bullish, range bound, bullish again with a big massive movement. It stayed blue, and it stayed blue, and it stayed blue. And there we had a little bit of a shakeout, and then it turned blue again, and then it stayed blue. And you play the momentum. Blue, you keep it where we're at right now. We're correcting now. Okay. So until this thing gets to be blue again, expect more pain for Zcash. Okay. That's what Buddy is basically pointing to. Now, the rule is that if this demand holds, you're good. So any orange, that's fine, all the way down to these levels. Fall below that range, the odds that this thing's going to turn blue and then run to the up becomes very low. That's it. That's how the Buddy does the work. Trendscope does the work for you as well in different ways. You can have a look at this from a short-term point of view. What do we have? Short-term wise, this is now turned, or is turning bearish. You had the range-bound environment where these lines overlap. Like I said, if you watch the video on how the indicator works, it makes it easy for you to understand. Look, these lines are overlapping now. We're range-bound. And larger time frame, what do we have? Is that has now shifted as well. So from this point of view, large time frame, short time frame, and Buddy indicator, Zcash does look statistically bad. Okay. We'll see what it does at 425. Okay, so now you have it. So took a lot of paths to try and get to the answer for you guys. But now you can see how you can simplify this just by using these built indicators. So now the coin that I want to share with you guys is Zcash. Let's quickly have a look. Not Zcash, Bitcoin Cash. Now I've said this many times. I'm going to say this again. Look at what Bitcoin Cash is doing on these levels. It's turning bullish. Trendscope Indicator. Let's switch the buddy on. Let me just refresh the buddy to the latest update, guys. There was a new update last week as well. Just remember that. Okay, it's turning blue. Let's go to the larger time frames real quick. So if you look at this on the weekly time frame, where we're at, we're blue. Okay, so we're range bound. Let's switch off the indicator. We're range bound, but we're blue, which means Bitcoin Cash has got a very clear line drawn in the sand. 470 for Bitcoin Cash. Then the analysis will probably become more bearish further down the road. But where we're at right now, we're holding strength. So where Bitcoin was dumping hard, Zcash didn't sell off that crazy. Bitcoin Cash didn't sell off that crazy. As opposed to altcoins like Solana. I mean, if I were to bring the same chart up for Solana, completely different picture, making that low. Is there room for upside? Yes, there's room for upside. But Bitcoin Cash's room for upside is much greater than that of Solana. So I'd rather look at a Bitcoin Cash for that matter. Okay. If you zoom out to the bigger picture of things, you can see that we're still within this accumulation range, and we've been holding and building, strength on strength as we go on. So Bitcoin Cash could experience a parabolic move. Take it maybe to 1,800. Now this is prediction, whatever you want to call it. But yes, don't plan according to that. Let's just take it level by level. The important level now is to hold here. This thing is looking really strong. And as soon as we zoom into the smaller time frames, you can see how this thing reacted from the range test as opposed to the other ones. Okay, so there you have it. That's everything for today, guys. Thanks so much. If you want, you know where to join. You can join me in my Discord. And if you want to subscribe and become part of my group, you're more than welcome to do that as well. You can head over to the Discord. The navigation channel's got everything you want to do. You can just upgrade your access, click on that little button there, and you can use the Whopper payment page to do that. So if you click on that little button, it will open this page and you can join. As simple as that. Do your HODL bags a favor, guys, and get in on the moves, okay? Get on the analysis. Give yourself the best chance possible, okay? There you have it. Bitcoin Cash chart about 2 days ago. So there you have it. Bitcoin Cash is slowing. It's showing good signs. You've got the invalidation levels. You've got the analysis. You've got the statistics around how Bitcoin could impact this. What Bitcoin needs to do as well to ensure that it's going to move on. So you guys are armed and ready for the week. I'll be back on Wednesday. We can look at some more charts. That's everything for today, guys. So do me a solid. If you found the content helpful, hit the like button. It helps the algorithm know that I'm talking sense. Share the video with a friend. Helps grow the community as well. And leave a comment. I would love to hear where you guys are at, what you're doing, what you're thinking. It helps me steer the content in the correct direction so that it can be helpful for you guys going forward. Have a lovely week. See you guys soon. Cheers, everybody.